Welcome to I'll Be There, the ultimate wedding podcast by Priya
and Nim
from Pristine Events. Whether you're a bride-to-be
or a groom gearing up
or just a wedding lover at heart, we've got you.
Welcome back to another episode of I'll Be There. I'm Nim.
I'm Priya.
And this week we're talking about destination weddings.
Yep, we are.
So, this is going to be a two-part episode.
Yeah.
We're going to get Sahani, our destination lead on, to come next week. But I thought it would be good to just talk about how popular destination weddings are becoming.
Yeah.
And how it seems to be that everyone's having one.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like I've seen a massive increase in the amount of inquiries that we've had for destination weddings over the last few years. And I'm definitely seeing, like you said, more and more people opting for them, thinking about them. And yeah, I think it's just very much, I thought before it was a trend, but I think now it's very much here to stay.
Why do you think that is?
I think since COVID, people have realised that they don't need to have a massive wedding in terms of guest numbers, and they can get away with inviting less. And an obvious way to do that is to do it abroad. Because I think especially if you've got a big family and if you would be expected to invite like second cousins and like really extended family.
What do you have against second cousins?
I have nothing against second cousins at all. I'm just saying when you then add that extra level of second cousins and third cousins and everything else, you've then got hundreds and hundreds of people at your wedding.
Yeah.
And I just think couples don't really want that. I know that sometimes families of couples do and parents do.
Yeah.
But I just don't think couples want that. And so I think an obvious way to cut people out is to do it abroad, because those people that you're not that close to aren't going to come.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think that's the primary reason why people are having destination weddings, to cut people out. I think they just want an experience.
Yeah.
I think they just want to kind of I think they do want to have a slightly smaller guest list, but I think the main thing is that where weddings just last one day for the most part in the UK, and maybe you'll have a few pre-wedding events, when you go abroad, it is an experience for everyone. It's a holiday, and it's just such a fun time.
Yeah, and I think exactly what you just said about being a holiday, like we found that like when we went to a destination wedding for the first time together, the best thing about it was just that everyone was in holiday mode. Like no one was worried about how they would, like where they were going, and no one was worried about how they're getting home, who's driving, being up late. Like everyone was in such a good mood, and like that's what we took away from that wedding.
Yeah. And
that's kind of what convinced you to then have a destination wedding.
Yeah, because before that destination wedding, I hadn't really been to one. I think the destination weddings I'd been to were weddings that happened to be abroad.
Yeah.
So for the most part, it's people from that country. So it's a destination wedding for me, but it's not a destination wedding for them.
Yeah.
And for those sorts of weddings, often it was the case that there weren't that many guests there, or it wasn't curated or made as a event that everyone's going to remember forever. It's just, okay, we're going to this country for a wedding.
Yeah.
And it was fun, like relatives are there, but to me it just seemed like a bit of a faff for us being in the UK to get married in a country that neither of us are from, nor do we know people in that country. So it just seemed a bit of a logistical nightmare, a bit, difficult for other people, inconveniencing them.
Guest welfare management.
Always caring about the guest welfare.
Guys, I had to literally convince Nim initially, because before we even were engaged, I was like, I want to do a destination wedding. Because partly because I wanted a completely different experience. No one in my family had a destination wedding. And secondly, because I knew that if we'd done it here, we would have been a huge thing, and I just didn't want that. And I just knew that if I managed to convince you to do it abroad, it would be amazing. But it took until we went to that wedding and you saw that, it then changed your mind.
Yeah, no,
because you were so worried about
for sure.
guest experience.
But I think the most important thing that I did was ask the groom, did you have a good time?
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to do all of this, put in so much time and effort to essentially organise a holiday
for everyone, an all-inclusive holiday,
people, and then me be stressed the whole time. And he said he had a good time, so
that's
why I was down with it. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, let me ask you a question that someone actually once asked me like a few years ago, and I really thought about it. Do you think destination weddings are selfish?
That's a really good question. Do I think destination weddings are selfish? Yes. I think they are selfish.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
Weddings are a time to be selfish.
Yeah.
In terms of do what you want, have the food that you want, the DJs that you want, the music that you want, the entertainment that you want, in a place that you want.
Yeah.
And I think it's fine to be selfish, but I think you do need to be very aware of who your guests are.
Yeah.
And if you're going to be selfish, don't have this high expectation that everybody's just going to go along with it because they like you. If you're so selfish to the point where you're doing an event that nobody else wants to come to, then don't expect people to come.
What would you mean? What's an event that you think people wouldn't want to come to?
So, for example, if, we're in the UK, in London, and you decide to have a destination wedding in Fiji in the middle of summer holidays on a Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah.
So it's going to be super expensive.
Yeah.
You're flying all the way across the world.
Yeah.
And then to some extent, if you don't then provide the guests with something that they're appreciating. So, for example, if you have to pay for drinks or the hotel costs £1,000 a night and your guests are not of that background to be able to pay that amount of money. I think that's selfish.
Yeah.
Because you've dreamt to get married in Fiji for whatever. I don't know why I've picked Fiji. I don't know anyone who's
I'd love to go to a wedding in Fiji.
I was just thinking of somewhere which is pretty far.
Yeah, fine.
Or for example, if you said you want to get married in Japan during blossom season because you love the culture and you love comic books and that is, I think, selfish. That is something that you should do with your partner as long as they're on board with it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, unless your guests are of, like you said, of the background that they can either afford to go in peak season or maybe they're really into Japanese culture and, everything in that sense. I think on the flip side, yes, I agree. I can see why it's selfish.
Yeah.
But I think, first of all, and exactly as you said, any wedding is selfish. Even in the UK, if you do a wedding on a Wednesday, that's technically selfish because people have to take the Wednesday off, most likely have to take the Thursday off. And if you've got pre-events, take the Tuesday off as well. So you're making them take 3 days of annual leave. And essentially they're taking that off to come and celebrate you for 3 days. So I think weddings, if you really strip it back, yes, it's amazing because it's a celebration of love, but it is still about you, right?
Yeah. So the reason I'm smiling is because I've started uploading our reels onto TikTok.
Yeah.
And there's this user who keeps commenting on all our photos, just on all of our reels, saying negative things. And one of them was just saying, weddings are a con. And I'll just respond back and say, sorry, what do you mean by this? And he said, you're all part of it. Back in the day, we used to have simple things. Now there's too much organisation. It's a way to just show off to your friends and family. And I was just like, okay, each their own.
Oh, well, that's a good sign if we're getting trolls. I think.
I mean, it's the same troll over and over again. So maybe it's a rival planet or something.
And I'll be their hater. Wait, what was I saying? So yes, I think in one point, any wedding is selfish. So I think even if you do a 3-day wedding in the UK and you have to take off leave and you still have to spend whatever it is, like per day on a hotel if it's not nearby you, it's still a level of selfish. But on the flip side, really kind of what we touched on earlier, you are planning like a 3-day all-inclusive holiday for people. Well, for the most part, for most destination weddings, at least all the ones that we organise and have been to, the guests will never pay for any of their food or any of their drinks. Some of the weddings, they will also even, like some couples will also even host some of the close people. So sometimes you don't even have to pay for your room. So really you're just paying for flights.
Yeah, but I think that's where it comes down to how you actually plan your destination wedding.
Yeah.
I don't think it's good enough to just say, I want to get married in Marbella, I want to get married in Ibiza, I want to get married in Goa, and just book a nice hotel and then just say, everybody fly to my wedding. I think there does need to be a serious level of commitment to making sure that it's a good wedding.
Yeah.
And by that I mean book us for your destination wedding. No, I mean, either if you need to have the time, you need to have the time to put into it, or have a planner who's going to do that for you, or some sort of combination of both.
Yeah.
Because then it is just completely selfish if you are making all of these people fly out and it's not a good 3 days for them and it's just a waste of their annual leave. That is selfish and not cool, guys. Not cool.
Yeah, no, I mean, because I know someone who went to a destination wedding and it was abroad, and it was very much like they had done a destination wedding for the sake of doing a destination wedding. So guys, please don't do that. Like, exactly as Nim said, like, be respectful of everyone else's time and the money and the effort that they're spending into getting to this place. But I think so with this person, the venue was not close to an airport, so it was really far away. The wedding itself was a 1-day thing, so everyone was flying out, I think, for a 1 day. And I don't remember the ins and outs of it because it was someone at work that was telling me, but they had, the food was all served on like plastic plates and stuff. There wasn't very much of it. The bar was closed, and there was also a paid bar for a bit of it, and then it was closed for a long time, so everyone was like dying of thirst. It was boiling hot, and like
see that. Okay, I'm just going to stop you there because it sounds like that was a destination wedding from hell.
Yeah.
But see, that is the epitome of selfish. That is the epitome of exactly like you said, having a destination wedding for the sake of saying, I got married in X.
Yeah, to tell people that you've done that. Yeah, no, exactly.
And I feel bad for your guests.
Yeah. And it's bad because I think guests have higher standards when you go abroad. And so therefore, if you've brought them all the way there and you haven't really thought about them in any sense, like food, drink, transfers, like practicality, they are just going to not bring good vibes. They're going to be a bit like flat. They're going to be a bit pissed off. And so when you're like opening the dance floor or whatever, they're not going to give you that amazing energy.
Yeah.
Because they've just been like, why have I flown we could have just done this in the UK and just for a one-day thing.
Yeah.
So I think you've got to really think about it when you're starting your destination wedding planning journey. And I think really do your research, because a lot of people, we get some inquiries from people that ask to do like 3-day wedding events.
Do your impression.
They asked to do like 3 days of wedding events, 2 events on each day, so that's 6 events. They want 300 people there, and their budget is like 40,000. And I'm not saying 40,000 isn't a lot of money, but to cover 6 days worth of decor, food, drink, entertainment, all the transfer and logistics, like it doesn't add up.
That's just our fees.
Yeah.
Joking.
Like it just doesn't add up. So I think you've just got to really do your research and see if your budget allows for the kind of wedding that you want, because there's no point trying to scrap it all together for the sake of it and then having an experience that no one like talks about afterwards or is happy with.
Yeah, and that brings us on nicely to Mythbusters.
Woohoo.
I know we planned for you to say this, but it was just in my head, so I had to say it. So let's talk about things that are either myths or actually true about destination weddings.
Okay.
And I think the first one, which we've been brought onto nicely by your last point, is about budgets.
Okay.
Are destination weddings cheaper than UK weddings?
If you're doing it like for like, as in the same number of guests and everything, then I would say no.
If you're doing it like for like, you'd say no. Okay, why?
Because, I mean, I think that's really hard because there's so many variables, but there are so many additional costs that people don't initially factor in. Like, for example, transport. Most of the time people will offer transport for their guests from the airport to the hotel and back. So that's like an additional cost that you don't tend to do in the UK. Then there are other, like, depending on the country, random like legal fees or like additional taxes and things that you need to do, whether it's to do with alcohol or like shipping or just generally like playing music out loud. Like, depending on the country, there's different additional fees that you have to factor in. Thirdly, if you want to do most of your events outside, which if you're getting married abroad, you generally want to, yes, you can spend a bit less on decor in terms of if you've got an amazing view, you don't need to go crazy and have like loads of florals. But on the flip side, if you're doing your evening events outside, you will then need to spend a lot on lighting and production, because obviously you need all the tables to be lit. And I'm not talking just like table lamps, because quite often that's not enough for people to eat. You need to like put structures up where you can put lights across so that they can eat properly. But then for the dance floor area, you need to probably put up a rig if you want a good production of your evening space, because again, it's going to be pitch black. So I think people don't realise that element of it as well.
Yeah. Do you think there's a world where it is cheaper?
I think if you were going to have a smaller like number of people and you wanted to have like 50 to 100 people, do something really intimate. There are some like beautiful villas, especially around like Italy, which accommodate for smaller numbers. I think it would be cheaper than the UK.
Yeah.
But I think, like I said, for the kind of inquiries we get when they want to do like a 150 to 250 person wedding for 3 days, multiple events, and like 2 events in a day, it's not cheaper.
Yeah. Are you going to ask me the question back, or
what do you think?
What do I think? I think it can be cheaper.
Yeah.
I think it depends on the level of destination weddings.
Yeah.
I don't mean that in a competitive way, but exactly like you said, there can be these intimate at a nice bespoke is not the right word, in a nice cute boutique hotel, 100 people. It can be a one-day event. I know you said earlier on that one-day events aren't great, but a nice one-day event where you have a nice plated meal, because then it can be £150 a head for 100 people, which I think is £15,000 if my maths is correct. If it's not, we're going to have to...
Don't ask me, I'm not the maths person.
Okay, fine. That's £15,000. Spend a bit on a DJ. You know, you could do it for maybe not as much as you would spend, particularly if you're having a cultural wedding in the UK with 3 events, 400 of your closest, or your parents' closest family, friends, neighbours and whatever, school friends. So I think it can be, but I think if you're having a similar shebang abroad, like you said, I think it's inevitably going to be more expensive.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going to do it to the level that you've probably seen on Instagram.
Yeah.
Of the kind of weddings that, especially if your guests have high expectations that you're going to try and do.
Yes.
Your budget's going to go through the roof.
Yeah. Because I would say all of our destination weddings have been like triple, if not more than like our high-end UK weddings, like budget-wise. Like from that, basically. So I think, and it's different because that's big weddings and of like more in the luxury kind of area. But I just feel like it just depends on, I think a big part is guest number and where you're getting married.
Yeah.
Because it definitely can be done. Yeah. But exactly as you said, if you're comparing it to these ones that you see on Instagram, you don't realise how expensive the production and that element of it, because that's a really big factor that people, they kind of think about food, drink and the venue and they forget those other things that actually add on a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay, on to the second myth.
Yeah.
Are destination weddings smaller? Do less people come?
Good question. I think broadly speaking, yes.
Yeah.
Because more people aren't going to come. That would be really confusing.
Yeah.
If more people were willing to fly abroad.
That'd be a sick
just to
joke.
turn up on a Saturday. So yeah, less people are going to come. I think it depends on so many factors, right? I think the first is within your friend group.
Yeah.
Are you the first of your friend groups to get married?
Yeah.
Or are you the last?
Yeah.
Because if you're the first, I mean, I say friend group as if everyone's in the same group, but if you're one of the first amongst your family, your friend groups, then people are more likely to come, right? Whereas if you're the last and people have been to 3 or 4 destination weddings, they've been to 3 or 4, so maybe they can't be asked anymore. Or they might also have moved on and been in a different part of their life, especially if they're married, if they've got kids. It just becomes a bit more difficult.
Yeah.
I think the second, and I think this is probably one of the most difficult for couples to understand because it requires a lot of self-awareness, is, are you a good friend?
Yeah.
Are you a good son, daughter, cousin, relative? Because that's what's going to determine it. And if you don't know that, then you probably aren't. Right? And I mean that in a kind of blunt way, intentionally.
Yeah.
Because you should know, right? You know, there's always going to be unexpected people who you thought were going to come and not going to, and end up not being able to for whatever reason. But I think we had, and this is like massively stroking our own egos, I think we had a good idea.
Yeah.
Because of the first bucket that I said, where we were one of the first people in our friend groups to have a destination wedding.
Yeah.
And also I think we're good friends for the most part, I think.
Yeah.
And good family members. So people were going to be willing to come.
Yeah.
So you could use the old, similar thing to what we said in the UK. We, first of all, invited less people, but of the people that we invited, I think we both knew that probably 75-80% were going to come.
Yeah.
And I think that was pretty accurate. Maybe more came.
We had like, what, 215,
215,
which I thought was a really good number.
Yeah, I mean, the obvious thing is that you're cutting down your guest list anyway abroad.
Yeah.
Unless, I mean, there's very rare situations where you're going to be inviting as many people as if you were going to get married in the UK.
Yeah.
So I guess naturally you're cutting down that list. You've already refined it to the people that you think are going to come.
Yeah.
But yeah, less people are going to come than get married in the UK.
Yeah, I say normally to couples it's about 20% dropout, depending, give or take.
Just for destination or UK as well?
For destination.
I think it's similar for the UK as well. Because you're inviting more numbers, right?
Yeah, true. I think exactly as you said, like, you have to give out the energy that you want to receive. So if you've exactly said, if you haven't been great at making effort for other people's weddings or events or in families, then you then can't expect people to want to spend money on flights, accommodation, annual leave and stuff to come out for a wedding. So you have to bear that in mind.
Yeah, and I think that's why now we've stopped going to people's events, because they've already come to our wedding. Like, we don't need to do anything for other people anymore.
We go to everyone's events, actually. Our weekends are chaotic because we both have big family and friend groups and we're trying to make it to everyone's event. like tomorrow. But anyway, so I think that's a really important thing to consider. So maybe if you're considering a destination wedding and you're not sure, now's the time to up your energy for everyone's event.
Yeah, I think you should do an anonymous poll on WhatsApp. I don't know if that's possible. And just find out if you're a good family or friend, and then make the decision to whether you're going to have a destination wedding or not.
Another factor though is kids. Like if you're at the stage where all your friends have kids, or maybe like lots of your cousins have kids, you just have to bear in mind that they may or not be able to come. So for example, so the
exact same point that I said earlier about whether you're the first or the last in a group.
Yeah, but you didn't mention kids.
No, but I mentioned that people in different phases of their life.
Yeah, but I'm saying kids specifically. So for example, for our wedding, some of your cousins came solo because like they left the partner behind with the kids. They still came, but the whole family didn't come. And actually kids is a big part of destination wedding, because do you want kids or do you not? Like, and we've seen ones that we've done. I'm just trying to think. We've probably had a handful, if that.
Where there are multiple kids.
Maybe I can't actually really imagine. I remember many kids at the destination weddings we've worked at last year, so there probably weren't very many. But they do change.
Because you were just swapping them away.
I was like putting them in the creche. No, but like you do. That's another thing to then factor in if you're going to have some sort of daycare facilities, and that's another level of logistics. But so basically, less people will come. But that's not a bad thing. Just make sure you're a good friend or family member. Okay, next one. Destination weddings are less stressful.
Completely disagree.
Yeah.
Like, completely disagree. Unless you've got a planner who is doing everything.
Yeah.
You've literally said, here's my checkbook and just plan my wedding.
Yeah.
Please, that would be really good. We've had maybe one couple who have done that. There is no way it's less stressful, because you're in a different country, arguably a different time zone, potentially a different language. You don't know any of the suppliers. Culturally, people operate in a different way.
So different.
In terms of the way that they respond, in terms of the expectations, in terms of delays. What they think is important for a wedding is very different to what you think from the UK, and also what your culture is. There's just so many different factors. The UK wedding market, the UK Asian wedding market, the UK whatever Christian wedding market, they all have a type of way of operating. If you suddenly get married in a different country, you're interacting with so many other different factors.
Yeah.
So it's just going to be different, and it's going to be more stressful.
Yeah. And I would say all countries, whether it was our own destination wedding or even the ones that we've planned in, they are all very lax compared to the UK.
Yeah.
So things that you're like, I want to get this, signed off like 6 months before.
Don't worry, sir, it'll happen.
They're like, don't worry, we'll talk about it near the time. And I'm like, no, I'm talking about it now. And they're like, no, near the time. And then it's like 3 months before, and you're like, can we sign off now? And they're like, yeah, we're going to get to it. And then like 1 month before, you're like, can we sign off now? And then they're only just starting the talks of these final things, and it's stressful because those signing off of things will change the budget. So the couple naturally like wants to know a final budget, because things will obviously change, but those suppliers don't work like that. They work on a month by month basis for a wedding, so they're not going to give you final designs, final like budgets, final costs or final breakdowns until a few weeks before. And it can be very stressful if you don't have a planner and you're doing that all yourself.
I think the other thing that's really stressful, or what can cause stress, is the fact that you're sorting out things that you never would have had to sort out in the UK for a wedding, right? You rarely are going to have to think about people's accommodation when they're abroad. You're rarely going to have to think about how much it costs for them to travel to the venue from the airport. You're rarely going to have to think about flight costs. You're rarely going to have to think about logistics of when the flight is in relation to your first event.
Yeah.
You're going to have to think about every single one of their meals, not just the events that there's an actual event at. I mean, unless they're saying a wedding, a venue which is not at the same as the wedding destination venue. There's just so many other things that you're going to have to consider.
I'm smiling because I'm remembering you sorting out ironing services.
Well, ironing services. You never really have to think about that, but people are putting things in a suitcase. Especially if there's a connecting flight. They've had to kind of fold it up even more, or they had to be, can't pack an iron in their bag because of the weight limits. So you're going to have to suddenly consider that. You have to suddenly consider the heat and whether old people, young people aren't going to be able to tolerate that outside. Where rarely in the UK are you going to have to say, oh God, I mean, there's a week in summer where it's unbearable. If that, in the UK. But abroad, you're going to have to think about that all the time.
Yeah, no, exactly that. Okay, next one. So the next myth is you don't need a planner or coordinator.
False. Absolutely false.
Yeah.
You can't get married, as we just spoke about in terms of how stressful it is to get married abroad. You can't get married abroad without somebody helping you out, either through the process or on the day, or both, and ideally both. I think you just need somebody throughout that to help you out, because you would have most likely never gone through this process yourself.
Yeah.
And you need a team who are experienced doing that.
Yeah.
To be able to guide you through that process, because otherwise, as I said earlier, you're just organising or trying to organise a holiday and a wedding and transport for 200 or so people. That is so stressful.
Yeah.
That can be so stressful, and you need somebody to take that weight off your shoulders.
Yeah. And even if you think, oh, I'm super organised and I'm really good at planning, and so I can organise this, this and this, there are lots of other technical things that are very easy to miss if you haven't planned one of these before. And so what you don't want is to then get to the event days and then all these things unravel because there's been no one there to guide you to look for these things. And we've had experience in that that's kind of one of the reasons we stopped only just coordinating destination weddings, because people think they're super organized, and then you get there and we are literally picking up the pieces and trying to save this wedding, like that one that we did. And we went to the venue and there wasn't a single person there. There was a little old lady who only spoke Spanish. None of the tables were out, couldn't get through to the caterers. No one was answering. We had to then start finding tables and chairs to set up. Like, it was a nightmare, and I don't know what they would have done if we weren't there, but it just goes to show, like, it's just a different ball game, and you have to bear that in mind when you're planning. Next one. Okay, everyone can just make their own way there.
I think that's false.
Of course you would. You are guest welfare management.
I am guest welfare management. I think that's false. I think it depends, right? So if you're getting married somewhere which is a really popular wedding or holiday destination that people would have been to, it's really easily accessible, it's really near the landing airport where everybody's staying, I think there's an argument that, okay, fine.
I think as long as it's like within Europe and everyone kind of speaks English, is kind of, it's everyone can generally speak English there, and taxis are available outside. That kind of,
then I think it's sort of okay. I think if you're going to a country where people don't speak the local language, it's going to be a different currency. It's a long distance. They've just come off a long flight. I think especially if people are going to be landing in and around the same time. So for example, if you're getting married in the Middle East, or if you're getting married in India, most people are, if there's an event on the Saturday, most people are probably going to land on the Thursday or the Friday. And if they're all coming from London, there's probably going to be a couple of flights that they'll all be coming on. So I think it's just nice to organise for them to have transport from when they land to when they get to the venue. Why are you smiling?
Because of course you think it's nice, but I know I actually
you try to sack it off for our wedding. I hope your family and friends are watching this. Priya said you can do it for your side, but for my side we're not paying for that. And I was like, sorry?
I don't think I said that. I just said it's not far from the airport. Everyone can just get into a taxi.
It was an hour and a bit away. The airport was basically a shack, and we realised afterwards that actually there were no taxis around there.
Yeah, no, you were right.
Because it was kind of in the middle of nowhere.
It was the right call to make, but that was me pre-Pristine. Like, now I would say somewhere like that you definitely need to have transport, but not even for practicality. I say to our destination couples that, like, the guests... Wives. I say to our destination couples that their experience kind of starts from the minute you send out an invite. So, like, how good the correspondence is from the planners, like how often that they're getting updates or like replies to whatever that they've said, how well that we are, or whoever the team is communicating the information across, and then when you get on the flight and land, how great and smooth that whole journey is. So as soon as you come off, you can see quite clearly, okay, that's the couple's wedding logo. I know to go there. Oh, they've already tagged my bag, so I know what room I'm in because they've already allocated rooms. Oh, the coach is just there. Oh, they've got water bottles on the coach and a snack. That's amazing. Like, from there, they're already like, I'm really looked after. This is so great. I'm so excited. Versus coming off, no idea where to go, can't find a taxi, don't know where they're going, no one's really speaking the language, and it just makes that really stressful. So I think it's all part of the experience as well.
Yeah, agree.
Okay. Weather abroad is always perfect.
No. I mean, that's a big myth, and I think people really need to take that on board.
Yeah.
You're not guaranteed. I mean, there are certain places in the world where it is almost guaranteed.
Yeah.
But it's not always 100%. I mean, we got married in Rajasthan, and for the most part, it doesn't really rain.
Yeah.
But I know somebody who got married there last year in a different city, and it rained.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is scary because we actually didn't factor that in.
Yeah,
I don't know what we would have done.
I don't know.
But don't do that. That was pre-Pristine. Definitely find somewhere where there is a plan B, And as I've said for UK weddings, you need to be okay with that plan B. Not super happy with it, but just be okay with it, because nothing is guaranteed. I mean, hopefully in the week before you should have a 90% idea, but it's not guaranteed, and that is scary when you've probably spent, you know, your life savings on what could be an incredible 3 days, and suddenly the weather has put a spanner in the works.
Yeah, and no matter how much you can spin it and be like, it's still going to be amazing. Like, if that was me, I would have been distraught. I don't know, I probably wouldn't have come.
Yeah.
But I think exactly as you said, like even like places like Italy and Europe in the summer, it's not guaranteed. Like even our Italy wedding, like the week before it was like raining, literally the day after the wedding finished. One of our clients' like wedding that we planned, and I like was praying for the weather that whole week, because I was like, we had a plan B, but it was a conference center, and I couldn't even imagine doing it there, but that was the plan B. So we literally prayed so much, and luckily it was fine. But the minute the wedding ended, the next couple of days, it then started to pour. And our couples were on their mini-moon, and they sent us pictures. I can't believe this. And I was like, I'm so happy that it was perfect for your wedding. So I think, I'd please bear that in mind, particularly for Europe. If you want more guaranteed, then like the Middle East is quite a safe bet. But even then, you know, you can't control Mother Nature. So I think just bear that in mind when you're booking. Okay. Last one, destination weddings are just a trend for now.
Well, I mean, I think all of these myths are false. I don't think they're a trend for just now. I think, like you said earlier, they have become more popular post-COVID.
Yeah.
People are wanting to give their guests an experience rather than just a day and a free meal.
Yeah.
I think people are being more selective with their guests, and I think a destination wedding lends itself to that quite nicely.
Yeah.
And I think they're here to stay. I don't think they're here to replace weddings, because, you know, UK, America, wherever you are, your kind of home country wedding is always going to be most people's first thought. Often it's cheaper, it's more convenient, you know what you're getting, and there is that uncertainty with getting married abroad. But I think, especially if you've been to a good one, that snowballs, because a guest at that wedding, even if it's just one guest at that wedding, then suddenly thinks, actually, maybe I'll consider a destination wedding.
Yeah.
And that will continue, and that will continue.
Yeah.
It's not a trend.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're here to stay, and I think they'll get more and more popular as time goes on, and we're here for that. So yeah. Okay, that was a great episode. I think that was a good intro, a good like little teaser into destination weddings, because I feel like we can talk about them for hours and the different parts. So stay tuned for the next episode, where we're going to have Sahani on to discuss it in a bit more detail.
Take care. Bye guys.
Thanks for listening.
Please like, follow, subscribe for more.